Hi there. Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make a shell stitch baby blanket. The yarn that I'm going to be using is the Bernat Softy baby yarn, and I used 2 balls of yarn for this project and a 5mm crochet hook. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is make your loop for your hook, the slip knot loop. So you're going to wrap the yarn around your finger and cross it over, pull up this little piece just a bit and push it partially through. And this part that you're pushing through is what's going to be your loop. So just pull that yarn tight and put your hook through. Okay, so that's your starting loop on your hook. So we're going to begin by doing a chain of 126. So you're going to yarn over your hook and pull it through the loop. And that's literally it to make a chain. So yarn over. So yarn over and pull through the loop. Yarn over your hook and pull it through the loop. And you're going to go ahead and just repeat that. Keep on making your chain until you get to a total of 126. Okay, so you can go ahead and pause the video and just keep on making your chain till you've done 126 and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished doing your chain of 126, we are going to begin our first row of shell stitch. So in the second chain from your hook, you're going to do a single crochet. So here's the first chain from your hook, and there's the second. So you're going to push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now you've got 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through both. So that's a single crochet. Now we're going to skip 2 chains, and in that third one there, we're going to do 5 double crochets in that 1 chain space. So you're going to yarn over your hook, push it through the chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2. Okay, so that's 1 double crochet. And you're going to do that 5 times in that same chain space. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and that's your first shell there. Okay, so now you're going to skip these next 2 chains. There's 1 there, and the next one, and in the third you're going to do another single crochet. Okay, so you're just going to push the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Okay, you're going to skip the next 2 chains, and in that third one you're going to do 5 double crochets again. So you're just going to continue on with this pattern all the way down the row. You're going to do 5 double crochets in this chain, and then you're going to skip 2 and do a single crochet. Skip 2, do 5 double crochets in that same one. Skip 2, do a single crochet. Alright, so go ahead, pause the video, do that all the way down. If at this point right now where you are, you're still a little bit confused, just rewind the video back to the beginning and watch it again. That's it, because all the way down you're just going to repeat the step we just did together. So pause the video, do that all the way down the row, and then come back. Okay, so now that you've reached the end of your row, I just want to take a second to explain something here. Because if you look on my videos on the YouTube channel, under the crochet stitches, there is a how to do a shell stitch tutorial. And there is a little bit of a difference between the way that I explain the shell stitch in that video, which is how I learned how to do it originally, versus how I'm going to show you how to do it just with the ending rows and starting new ones in this project. this project, in my opinion, the way that I'm doing this shell stitch is a lot more simplified, and for the purpose of the finish of the blanket around the border of it, that's my reasoning for doing this a little bit different. So for those of you who are familiar with a shell stitch, you would know that on certain rows you're supposed to do a half stitch, half a shell to start your new row and all this. If you would like to see the reference to what I'm talking about, there is a link in the description below to the how to do a shell stitch tutorial that I'm talking about. But otherwise, this is another way that you can end and begin your rows of shell stitch. So I'm sorry if that throws you off at all. Just wanted to, for those of you again who have done this stitch before and you're thinking, wait, where's that point where she does 3 instead of 5? And anyway, this is much more simplified, and the end result, as you can see in the picture, is adorable. So to get the blanket that you saw in the picture that brought you to this tutorial, these are the steps that you're going to take. It's still the shell stitch. It is still a crochet shell stitch, okay? It's just that some people end and begin their rows differently. So there is one variation of it in my how to do a shell stitch tutorial specifically for the stitch, and then this is another variation that I used for this blanket. Okay, so now in your very last stitch there of that, your last chain, coming down the row of doing your shells, you should have ended with 5, with your shell, with 5 double crochet. Okay, so as soon as you've ended, you should be looking like you are in this position right now. And we are going to chain 1. Oh, pulled the hook right out of there. So chain 1, you're just going to yarn over and pull right through, and you're going to turn your work as we are going to begin row number 2. So what we're going to do is in the 3rd stitch from the hook, so 1, 2, 3, you're going to do your single crochet. So you're going to push your hook through the stitch. It looks a little different because we're not working in a chain anymore. So you're going to see that when you push through a stitch, it's kind of like that little V shape there on your hook. That's how you know you've gone through the complete stitch properly. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And of course you're a pro at doing a single crochet by now after that whole row, so I'm sure I don't have to walk you through that. And you're going to 1, 2, 3. Here is your single crochet that's between the shells from your previous row. And that's where you're going to do your next shell stitch. So you're going to yarn over and do your 5 double crochet into that space. That's 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Okay, so you'll start to see it taking shape by the time you get to the end of this row, but here's in between shells from the previous row is where your new row of shells will go. Okay, it's a really pretty look. I love this pattern. It's so cozy. So now we're going to skip 1, 2 stitches, and in that 3rd one is where you're going to do your single crochet. Okay, skip 2 and you're back down there to the next single crochet from the previous round, and that's where you're going to go ahead and do your 5 double crochet. So you're going to continue on with this pattern all the way down this row, and when you get to the end, come back. So pause the video, finish this row, and then come back. Alright, so now that you've reached the end of your 2nd row, you are going to finish every single row this way. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. And you're just going to follow the same pattern that you've been doing. So now you're going to look to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to do your single crochet, and then a 1, 2, and in the 3rd you're going to do your 5 double crochet. And you're just going to keep on doing this until you reach the desired length that you want for your baby blanket or for whatever size blanket you're doing. If you're looking to make a blanket to do this, follow this pattern, don't worry about the way this is looking right now. It will start to look really nice after you go for a couple of rounds there. And you'll see what I mean about just the finish. Well, you've seen the picture of the one I did, which is what drew you to this tutorial probably. So anyway, it does begin to look very beautiful. It has a nice finish on the ends. And if you wanted to make a different size blanket, you can work off of measurement instead of counting rows. So if you wanted to work off measurements instead of counting rows, you can go ahead and find a link in the description below that has blanket size charts. But for the purpose of this pattern, if you're wanting to follow it and create the blanket exactly as you've seen it in the picture, you're going to do a total of 65 rows. So go ahead and continue on with this pattern for a total of 65 rows and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished doing all of your rows of the shell stitch, we're going to finish off our project. So you will have chain one and turn your work, and now beginning in that third stitch, you're going to do a half double crochet. So you're going to yarn over your hook, and you're going to go into the third stitch from your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, so you'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Okay, so let's do another one together. Yarn over, push your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. So go ahead and do 1 half double crochet in every stitch all the way down and then come back. Okay, so once you finish off that last one, you close with a slip stitch, pull through some extra yarn there, fasten it off, pull it through, and then you're just going to use a yarn needle to weave in the tail ends into the stitches. And that's it.